Welcome to this short video on mental health. And before you think, what's this got to do with me? Mental health matters. Mental health and the importance of having good mental health is, rightly, being talked about much more. But what does mental health mean? Our mental health is the way we think, the way we feel, and our overall sense of well-being. The World Health Organization describes mental health as a state of well-being where every individual realizes their own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to contribute to their community. Which is why it's important that we all look after our mental health. It's equally as important as our physical well-being. If you feel you are struggling with your mental health, speak with your GP. Knowledge check. It's a fact that anyone, at any time, can suffer from poor mental health. Sometimes there's a direct cause, like a bereavement or traumatic incident, or sometimes it can be a combination of factors that lead to problems. But often there's not a clear reason why they develop. That's why mental health problems can be hard to spot, because it's not like breaking an arm where everyone can see where it hurts. We can't see inside our heads. You might not even know if your friends, colleagues, and even members of your own family are struggling with their mental health, unless they tell you. Knowledge check. In fact, anyone from any walk of life, soldiers, teachers, athletes, music performers, health professionals, can suffer with their mental well-being and experience poor mental health at any time in their life. Some of the most common mental health conditions you'll have heard about include anxiety disorders, depression, bipolar, psychosis, eating disorders, self-harm, and suicide. We'll look at what each one means later on, explaining how to recognise the symptoms and where to get help. Knowledge check. Experts say it's best to think of mental health as being a continuum or scale. And your mental health moves up and down the scale from positive to negative depending on how you feel. Our moods are impacted by our daily experiences, which influence our mental health continuum. We are all different and react to some of life's ups and downs in different ways. How you feel day to day or week to week may see you travelling up or down the scale, as events that happen to you in your work or personal life can impact on your overall mental well-being. So, let's look at some of the feelings or emotions that people sometimes struggle with that can have a direct impact on their mental health. Anyone with a mental health illness like depression or anxiety will be more towards the negative end of the scale. Whereas people who would describe themselves as having a positive state of mental health, feeling content, fulfilled and happy, will be at the positive end of the scale. If someone is at the negative end of the scale and has felt poorly for some time, then they are more likely to need support, or what's called an intervention, to help them with how they feel about themselves. Help could include having a formal mental health assessment with a psychiatrist, prescribed medicines, talking therapy, or a combination of all of them. The intervention is designed to give them the appropriate support they need to be able to reach a place on the scale where they feel more equipped to be able to feel content, happy, and live satisfying lives. Let's just take a moment to look at 2 case studies where you can put your newfound mental health knowledge to the test. Knowledge check. Welcome back. We've already highlighted the importance of good mental health and why it's essential to look after yours. But what does being mentally healthy actually look like? There aren't hard and fast rules, But experts say if you can give a tick to all these descriptions about yourself, then you are showing signs of good mental health. People with good mental health are resilient and able to cope with difficult times, feel in control of their lives and what is going on around them, are confident, feel positive about themselves, can manage and express their emotions, and can build and maintain good relationships. If that describes you, then you're showing what we call good mental health. If not, there's no reason to worry too much. Again, it comes back to the scale we showed you earlier and where you place yourself on it. Remember, from time to time, we'll move either up or down it depending on how we are feeling and what's happening in our lives. However, if you don't feel like any of the statements on this checklist resonate with your experience, then you might need some help. We'll talk about where and how to access help later. For the moment, let's look at some of the symptoms of poor mental health so you can identify them. This list is not exhaustive, but these are some of the most commonly recognised symptoms. They can be anything from a lack of concentration, worrying more, feeling less interested in day-to-day activities, feeling overwhelmed by things, drinking excessively, poor sleep, lack of energy, talking quickly and jumping between topics and ideas, tearfulness, feeling angry and even aggressive. It's perfectly normal at times to feel stressed, worried, anxious, sad, afraid, and even angry, as these are normal emotions that we all experience. However, when these emotions become so severe that they start to interfere with your ability to function in day-to-day life and last a long time, then you may be experiencing a mental health problem. There are many types of mental illness which you may have already heard of. They include post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, social phobia, bipolar disorder, postnatal depression, eating disorders, anxiety, depression, and schizophrenia. Let's quickly look at what each one is. Post-traumatic stress disorder. This is a condition of continuing mental and emotional stress occurring because of injury or severe psychological shock. A traumatic event such as an accident can cause PTSD. Social phobia. This is an overwhelming fear of social situations. Sufferers worry about doing something embarrassing. It can affect you in the workplace, meeting new people, and even going out. Bipolar disorder. This condition was once called manic depression, and people who suffer from it have extreme mood swings from manic energy to being very low, depressed, and lethargic. Postnatal depression. This is a type of depression suffered by new mums, usually caused by a mix of hormonal changes, adjustments to motherhood, and fatigue looking after a new baby. Eating disorders. They include anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating. It's characterised by severe and erratic eating behaviours linked with trying to control distressing thoughts and emotions through how, when, and what you eat or don't eat. Anxiety. This is a feeling of unease, such as worry or fear. We've all experienced anxiety, be it an exam or job interview, but in extreme cases, people find it hard to control their worries or feelings, which causes distress in their daily lives and prevents them from carrying out ordinary tasks. Depression. This can affect people in different ways and displays itself in a wide variety of different symptoms, from low self-esteem, unhappiness, and hopelessness, to losing interest in the things you once enjoyed doing. Schizophrenia. This impacts on how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. People suffering with schizophrenia often seem like they have lost touch with reality. It controls every aspect of their lives. When left untreated, mental disorders such as these can be chronic and long-lasting. Having an untreated mental illness will frequently interfere with your daily activities, family life, personal relationships, your social life, and work in a negative way. These are recognised medical conditions and should never be ignored or downplayed. If you are worried about your mental health, you should seek professional help. We've covered a lot of ground in this part, so we'll take a break on our mental health journey while you complete some further questions on what we've just talked about. See you shortly. Hopefully, you'll have increased your knowledge and awareness about mental health, including your own. However, should you have any remaining questions, please post them to the message box and we will respond. For this next part, we'll look at how people who have mental health symptoms and illness can get the help they need. Fortunately, there are treatments and medically proved interventions that aim to help individuals understand and cope with the symptoms of mental illness. Often, the biggest obstacle to understanding your own mental health is acknowledging or recognising you may be suffering from poor mental health. And this is sadly reflected in the number of people seeking help, especially young men. Currently, very few people with mental health disorders and symptoms are accessing existing mental health treatment services. This could be partly due to barriers such as stigma and the perceived shame attached to having a mental health problem, or struggling to admit that you're having a mental health issue to yourself and others. The lack of understanding of mental health problems, the uncertainty of how to get help, and/or the fear of disclosing mental health problems all contribute to this inaction and the low take-up of people seeking help. That's why it's even more important to talk about our mental health. Because research shows that stigma remains the #1 reason why people don't seek help for their own mental health problems and take advantage of early intervention treatments which can literally save lives. Individuals often feel frozen by the fear and shame of disclosing their suffering and concern for being perceived by their colleagues as weak. Knowledge check. There are many options and providers of mental health services you can access. The Electrical Industries Charity will provide you with free and confidential support. The service is person-centred and they work closely with you to tailor support to meet your needs. Please do not hesitate to contact the helpline on 0800 652 1618 or email support@electricalcharity.org and one of the caseworkers will be in touch to help you. Or contact your GP, and depending on where you live, many areas will have their own dedicated local mental health teams. Or visit the NHS website, or simply search online for mental health services and advice for services where you live. Knowledge check. Our industry is facing the highest suicide rate among apprentices in the last 10 years. So, if there is a mental health emergency, and by this we mean someone who's having a mental health crisis and is at risk of harm to themselves or others, you must seek immediate attention by dialing 999. It's important to value and look after our mental health. We all have a personal responsibility to learn how we can improve our mental health and well-being so we can lead meaningful, happy, and satisfying lives, allowing us to enjoy our work, our mates, and doing the things we love. Be kind to yourself and others, and treat your mental health with the respect it deserves.